So today I'll be doing a video discussing Fairy Tale Next Generation Part 1 and what you guys can all expect from the first part of Fairy Tale Next Generation. Now yes, you guys heard me right. I said Part 1 of Fairy Tale Next Generation because Fairy Tale Next Generation, it is going to have multiple parts in the series. Yes, it is going to have multiple parts in the series, similar to how all of Hiro Mashima's works do, and this just gets me really excited because Part 1 is going to be amazing, but Part 2 is going to be even more hype. So if you guys want me to do a video on Part 2, get this video to 500 likes and I'll do one next week. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into Part 1. Now, we know that Part 1 of the original story of Fairy Tale, it focused on developing the characters rather than the story, because we saw the first couple of arcs. The main arc, we got a development between Natsu x Lucy, obviously them having to go and save Macau. That was a huge arc for their relationship alone. But then we got introduced to the Galuna Island arc, and this was just Gray's central, because we obviously figured out about Gray's past, his rival, a bunch of stuff about Gray was just revealed to us. And that just goes to show you that Hiro Mashima, he does like focusing his arcs on the characters in the beginning so that he can flesh them out and explain to us what the characters are like, which is a good way of writing. So props to Hiro Mashima on that part. But it doesn't stop there, because we've seen the Tower of Heaven arc, which was probably the greatest arc in Fairy Tale. That was all about Urza, and Urza's past to this day is still one of the most saddest things, especially with the whole addition to the Irene thing after figuring out she was just abandoned. So Urza, Gray, they both got huge hype later on and early on in the show, but it doesn't stop there, because we even see Gajeel and Wendy, the Dragon Slayers, they got introduced and got hyped up early on. Now, some people don't like how Gajeel's character went, because he was supposed to be the rival to Natsu, and some people think that he kind of fell off. But me personally, I like Gajeel's character. It's just, I don't know, I just don't see him as the rival like how Gray is towards him. But I still do think they are equal when it comes to being Dragon Slayers. So that's that. The Phantom Lord arc, we saw Gajeel. He got to basically crucify people. He got to kidnap people. Gajeel got the most hype out of his arc, bar none. And then Wendy, obviously the Erasean his arc, which came a little bit later on, but it was still within the first half of the story. So I brought all that stuff up to say this: Hiro Mashima, he loves to flesh out characters early on, and then we seen arcs later on down the line, like the Tenro Island arc, which was used for the story, and the Grand Magic Games, all those other arcs. So Hiro Mashima, I really do like the way how he does is write his plot out, and I definitely do think that this is hype news for Fairy Tale Next Generation Part 1. And like I said, the Part 1 of Next Generation, it will focus on developing the characters, but this time I think they're going to do it even more than the first series, because Hiro Mashima, he has to give us a reason to love these new characters. Like, let's be honest, we all love the main cast of characters already, and that's because he did a good job at fleshing them out. But with Fairy Tale Next Generation, the main thing that he can't do is just make copies of other characters. I'm not gonna lie, like, a lot of people, they're expecting Nashi to kind of be like Natsu, or they're kind of expecting her to be like Lucy. Me personally, I hope that she's something completely different from them. Not saying that I don't want her to have their traits or anything, because obviously the kid is going to inherit the parents' trait, but I think it'll be cooler if they did add something that'll make her unique and make her not just be another Natsu or Lucy clone. So I definitely am excited for the development of Nashi Drag Neo, but it doesn't stop there, because even Storm Fullbuster, which we know that he's going to be the son of Gray and Juvia, and this guy, he's going to have to get the most development. I'm not going to lie, because he has so much potential to be amazing, because he's the son of Gray. He can learn ice make magic. He could possibly learn devil slaying magic, or he could learn Juvia's water magic. So that's why I'm super excited for Storm Fullbuster, because in Part 1, I do believe that he's going to get a lot of hype early on, because they're going to have to establish him being a main character in the series, and they're going to definitely have to make us love him. So the fact that Hiro Mashima is going to be spending Part 1 of Fairy Tale Next Generation developing Nashi, Storm, and all the other kids too, like the children of Gajeel and Levi, I definitely cannot wait to see that. And the spookiest part about Fairy Tale Next Generation is the time skip, because we already know that Hiro Mashima, he is notorious for time skips. Now, you're either going to love or hate the 7-year time skip that took place after the Tenro Island arc. Me personally, even though they didn't grow after the time skip, I still did enjoy it because I understand why they didn't grow. Obviously, they were basically trapped in time. That's what they were. So I can understand why they didn't grow. But Fairy Tail, obviously the 7-year time skip, it rubs some people the wrong way, but all I'm going to say is that I doubt Hiro Mashima would do something like that again, especially for Fairy Tail Next Generation, because the only reason why he had leeway to actually do that with the Fairy Tail world is because the Fairy Tail guild was so advanced. Like, they were so much ahead of everybody else's that when they did come back from the 7-year time skip, it felt like that they weren't super overpowered and stuff. So the Fairy Tail guild, I could understand why he did do the 7-year time skip. Not saying that I want him to do another one like that, but all I'm saying is that the time skip for the Next Generation, I think, or at least the first one, yeah, you guys heard me, the first time skip for Fairy Tail Next Generation, I know is going to be way better than the first time skip for Fairy Tail, because he's going to be able to transition from Nashi being a child, Storm being a child, into them being, I don't want to say adults, but I would say teenagers, maybe 16, 17. That's where I would like to see the story of Fairy Tail Next Generation officially kick off, because we saw the story of Natsu and Lucy when they were 18, 19, so I definitely don't think that Hiro Mashima wouldn't want to do the same thing, but at the same time, I don't think he would use the exact same ages. And plus, with these kids, you can use the time to show them as children, and then show them as teenagers, and then show them as adults, which 18, 19 technically is an adult. So yeah, you could get the best of both worlds with the time skip. And like I said, Fairy Tail Next Generation, it's going to start off as the kids being kids. So that just confirms 100% that there is going to be another time skip in Fairy Tail Next Generation, because Hiro Mashima would never, ever end Fairy Tail Next Generation without giving us the backstory, not the backstory, but the future of the kids. Like, he would not just end it off like that. I definitely do think that Hiro Mashima, he has a lot in store for the first time skip. And I know you guys must be asking, okay, well, how long will part 1 be? Because part 1 of Fairy Tail, the first Fairy Tail anime, I believe it was 178 episodes or around 180 episodes. And I'm going to be honest, Chief, I don't think Fairy Tail Next Generation is going to be that long. The only reason why I want to say Fairy Tail is that long is obviously because it came out during a way earlier time when shonen was different. Nowadays, they usually don't make long-running anime like that unless it's very popular or something. And Fairy Tail Next Generation, they might end up getting that big, who knows? But I just can't see it being the length of 170 episodes, because that's a whole new series right then and there. And unless Hiro Mashima wants to do a whole new series, which I could see him doing it, because he doesn't have to draw all the art himself. If you guys didn't know, he doesn't even do all the artwork himself. He actually has somebody helping him, which does take off the stress and all the other stuff that adds up to it with him drawing one manga by himself. So because he's actually not working on it by himself, that could actually mean that we could get more than 170 Fairy Tail Next Generation episodes. I wouldn't bet my money on it, but it's definitely a possibility. But I think that the first half of Fairy Tail Next Generation will be around 50 or so episodes, because 50 episodes, that's a good enough time to introduce the characters, have the plot twists and all that stuff. And we see that Fairy Tail, the final season's only 39 episodes. And with that being said, we know that they're gonna, or not only 39 episodes, but we know that they're going to have, currently they're on 39, they're gonna have more, but we do know that it's going to have 50 or so episodes. So I definitely am excited for that, which does make me think that Fairy Tail Next Generation will follow in the Fairy Tail final season footsteps. They're going to get 50 episodes as well. And as far as the tone for the first half of the series, I definitely do believe that it will be a lot lighthearted and a lot less serious in the second half, because obviously we're going to be dealing with the kids for the beginning. So I'm pretty sure that Hiro Mashima, he wouldn't show Natsu dying or anybody else dying at the beginning. No. So just because there will be a whole new fresh world, I doubt that Hiro Mashima will throw all that gritty writing in there, because some people, they say that Hiro Mashima, he doesn't do some dark writing, but he's very underrated underrated when it comes to it. So I definitely have to say that I do think that it won't happen early on. And we've also seen that there's a pattern where Hiro Mashima, he saves his darker arcs for the end of the series. Like, for example, we saw the Tartaros arc. Obviously, Igneel died. We saw Lucy, she lost Aquarius. Like, there's just so much dark stuff that happened and sad things that happened in Tartaros. And in the war arc for Fairy Tail, we see that this is one of the darker arcs, and it took until the ending. So with all this research and calculations being done, I can definitely say that the first half of Fairy Tail Next Generation, don't expect it to be too dark and gritty, but you can expect a lot of development and a lot of characters being fleshed out. The story, I would say, would probably come after they're finished developing the characters, because this one for Fairy Tail Next Generation, this is going to be the most important part. Like with Fairy Tail, the thing that was different from the Next Generation is when Fairy Tail first started, they already had the story well thought out. Obviously, it was Natsu chasing after Igneel. He had to find his dad again, and that was the premise from episode 1. Whereas Fairy Tail Next Generation, obviously, since they will be way stronger and it'll be a whole new different time, they'll have to start it off way different than how they started off the original series. And I definitely do think that this could lead into part 1 being one of Hiro Mashima's greatest works, because if he spends all the time just developing the characters, which I think is his strong point, boy oh boy, that is going to be one of the greatest Fairy Tail series ever. But overall, what are you guys' thoughts on Fairy Tail Next Generation Part 1? Me personally, I think it's going to be a very light-hearted first half. They're going to spend their time introducing the main characters, Nashi, Storm, Gajio's children, and all the other children as well too. Whereas the second half, boy oh boy, that is where things are going to get spooky. Comment what you guys see down below. Subscribe if you have it. Peace out.